I am not really sure how to go about creating this video. First and foremost, I must apologize. I had a problem where 2 of the recording sessions for this game was corrupted, and as luck would have it, those were 2 sessions where a lot of trophies were gotten. So there will be some gaps here and there, but the main struggle I have with making this video for this game is that I didn't enjoy completing it, and that pains me. That pains me a lot. Because you see, the game we are completing today is the holy gosh darn, the final game in the Tuesday trilogy, and a game made by Perfectly Paranormal. The 2 other games in this trilogy, Manual Samuel, a game that I enjoyed quite a lot and recently made a video about. The second game, Helheim Hassle, one of my favorite games of all time and a game I spent countless hours in both speedrunning and enjoying casual. So my expectations going into this game was, put mildly, very high. And yes, I know, hype makes you stupid and blind, but even after having played the demo on this very channel, seeing what the game tried to be, I was still very excited. The release date came, I jumped on the game day 1, and for the most part, I was enjoying my time with the game. Then I looked at the trophies, both on PlayStation and on PSN profiles, and saw that I seemed to be the first to a lot of these trophies. I genuinely had the opportunity to become the first in the world to get the platinum here. And then the flaws started showing up. The clever writing became annoying as I heard it for the 100th time. The gameplay loop of mostly walking or teleporting to a person and talking with them became stale. Some bugs started showing up, and most importantly of them all, I started to despise the main character. So a combination of glitches and me trying to be the first to complete it just soured the experience for me. So join me today as I will try to take you on my journey to this conflicting platinum as we complete and review the holy gosh darn. I think it is very important to establish early what this game is and isn't. All of Perfectly Paranormal's games in this trilogy has in some way, shape or form been a puzzle game. Manual Samuel was a movement puzzle game, where you had to manually use your body in increasingly complex ways to progress. Helheim Hassle was a puzzle platformer, where you again use your body parts, but this time throwing and combining them in order to solve puzzles. This game also introduced a lot more collectibles and allowed the more complex puzzles to be optional. The holy gosh darn is a dialogue puzzle game, meaning that the puzzles isn't tied to any form of movement, except for a few instances that we'll get to in due time, but instead it is tied to what your character is saying to an NPC. This concept is fascinating. I don't think I know of any other game where the main mechanic is tied to only dialogue like this. But I'm guessing a lot of you have never heard of this game before, so let me start by giving a quick introduction to this game. We play as Cassiel of Celerity, an archangel that lives in heaven. We live our boring life examining and questioning all the people getting into heaven, the only problem being that there are no people in heaven, only dogs, because all dogs go to heaven, even Dog Stalin. That is, until one day 300 phantoms are heading for heaven, which is something so catastrophic that it blows it up. We should be dead, but instead we're taken to the void by none other than a lovely companion from a previous game, Death. It seems that he may or may not have had something to do with this, like maybe he caused a robot uprising that blew up an orphanage, but who could prove that, right? So he gives us a time logic piece and the task of helping him fix the big mess that he has gotten into. And so we need to help him by stopping the phantoms using God's greatest creation, the holy gosh darn. Hey look, it's the name of the game! It is unfortunate that the first recording session I lost was the first one I did for the game. Luckily, this section was pretty identical to the demo that I had played, and luckily that video is still on the channel, so you have the opportunity to view that. But we will also be back here multiple times, because this platinum journey took me 4 playthroughs. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In this section, we learn how the game will work. We have 6 hours before heaven is destroyed, and we need information. This is where the dialogue puzzle element comes into play. because we can just blast past a person, avoid talking to them when they want to stop us for a chat, or cut them off mid-sentence and say that we know what they're talking about, get to the point, but that will annoy them. So when we need information from them, they will just refuse to talk with us, meaning that we will have to rewind time to a time before we insulted them and try talking to them again. Next iteration we talk to them in, we will have the knowledge of what they will say and what they like and dislike, so we can use that information to speed up parts of the dialogue. Honestly, a really interesting way of doing time travel in a game, and one that is for the most part executed perfectly. But it takes two to tango, and there is only one of the dance partners that are stuck in a time loop. And this is where my big flaw to this game comes into play. Cassiel is miserable to listen to. Not that the voice acting is bad, far from it. No, the problem is that she is annoying, angry, and fed up with the entire thing. Fair enough when you're stuck in a time loop. I reckon that is how we would all be if we had to listen to the same conversation over and over and over and over again. The problem is that sometimes she's rude and crass, even the first time she meets someone. Or she'll act annoyed like she has heard an opinion a million times before, when it is only the second time we're having the conversation with an NPC. And with how many times we have to see certain dialogue interactions over the course of the game, because that is the main gimmick of the game, so it makes sense why we can't skip it, it becomes annoying to the player. At least it did for me. A small part of what makes it annoying is because I can't skip the dialogue. But a bigger part is because Cassiel is acting like an asshole over it. Which is a shame, because the dialogue is excellently written for NPCs, like they have been for the other games in the trilogy as well. Cassiel doesn't even have to say anything to honestly get on my nerves. It's how her face says that she hates being here that conveys a feeling to me that I just didn't vibe with. Because I fully see how this can be a me issue, that I just didn't connect with her on this journey. Because there are times where I genuinely enjoy her dialogue, where the dry humor works, where the desperation in her voice over the situation is fitting, where the compassion for her friends around her shines through, and the anger over the mission punches through in the delivery. Which just makes the sections where it becomes a nuisance so much more jarring. And unfortunately for me, the bad outweighs the good here. Now that we have gotten that deep dive into the main system and character out of the way, let's try and get to some of the trophies as well. Shall we? Like I said, I lost the first recording session where we got the trophies for freaking out Puriel in the dog guessing game, visited Helheim, got our watch upgraded to be able to bring items back to the past with us, got a game-long side quest of insulting all the elders in the game, and visited Earth. Almost all of this can be seen in the demo that I talked about earlier. So we start the game on the highway to hell, after having hotwired Bielsa's bus with the old lady from Manuel Samuel that died. Apparently it was Cassie that killed her so suddenly in that meeting. Anyways, defusing some bombs Bielsa had planted as a security measure means that we finally arrive in hell in order to get the title of Cassiel of Purgatory.
And they immediately go the wrong way.
I really like hell. This area has some of the most colorful characters in the game and houses most of my favorite puzzles for both the main story and the side quests. Case in point, the Whack an Angel game in the arcade, where it turns out we are a god, and after having proven our worth, we get to challenge the champion. And she's a champion for a reason, as we tie 3 times in a row before I finally manage to edge out a win in the end, becoming the new champion on the block, Cassiel of Whack-A-Molity.
Wow! I am speechless!
And you suck.
Oh!
We run into a previous work colleague of ours named Gabriel, who decided to escape to lose his realm after he was fed up with all the Lord's work he had to do up in heaven. Not far from Gabe is Swery, who shows up every time someone says a bad word, because Lucifer has a strict no cursing rule. Wait, are Swery and YouTube the same thing? Swearing is apparently an angel thing to do. And if the cast couldn't get any better, he tells us of Karen, the wonderful make-it-at-home portal we can summon by writing a pentagram on our coffee machine and burning the coffee filter. It's even Bring Your Kid to Work Day. So Karen is accompanied by this wonderful baby portal that we of course can pet. Who's a good portal? You are! You are! Still don't believe me that the characters here are the best? Well, let me introduce you to Florple. This wonderful game that is part board game, part D&D, and 100% nonsensical fun. Where Cassie, Agenti, Frank, and of course...
Bernina, you...
that just fills me with some form of joy I just can't properly explain. This whole game is run by Kilton, the adorable little kitten. Oh, I should probably not have called him that.
Did that cat just kill me?
Oh, yeah, you probably shouldn't call Kilton a little kitten, yo.
Why were we playing Florple, you might ask? Well, we needed chips in order to buy a phone for Eve. Yes, that Eve from Adam and Eve, who was banished here after trying to sit on God's throne, which will cause all sorts of problems. Getting past them gets us into the VIP section, where we need to talk with Daniel, the gangster ass who knows the location of the holy gosh darn since Lucy isn't here. Which is a sentence so absurd, I won't even question it. Daniel sends us on a mission to get in writing from God what the secret of the holy gosh darn is. In order to do that, we need to first find God, since no one has seen him for ages. No one knows where he lives. Or maybe the Holy Spirit do. They are all around us, we just need to be able to see them. But we can't, unless we have way more grace than we do now. But hey, didn't that lady that gave us supplies for the bus we hotwired have some goggles that could be used to see us and other vaguely and obscure things? But they were destroyed when we startled her. But she tells us there was a breaking and entering earlier where one pair was stolen. And the culprit was none other than the dude we saw in hell. And do you see the jarring issue I'm trying to paint out here? We have effectively started a long chain of fetch quests. We need to find the goggles, to find the spirit, to find God, to get the note, to get the location of the holy gosh darn. And I think that is one of my problems with this game. The main story is just a bunch of fetch quests, and in order to get what you need for the quest, you need to say the right thing to the right people, or say the right thing when wearing the correct outfit. Rarely does this formula deviate from the norm, with Florple being the best implementation of it all, which is probably why I'm so fond of it. But the thing I'm getting at is that beside the very beginning, there haven't really been any new gameplay mechanics introduced. We have gotten Grace that has unlocked new movement techniques, but the actual device that moves the plot along, the dialogue puzzles, has become pretty formulaic. Compare that to Helheim Hassle, and what made that game so amazing in my eyes. In Boulder's Gym, we have to motivate or tickle gym bros in order to move weights to solve puzzles. Once we have gotten the hang of it, we unlock a new body part and the complexity of the puzzles goes up. And then we can either take a hidden route where we get the hard version of this puzzle, or we can take the intended path that focuses more on learning the mechanic of the new body part. So not only did we have a puzzle that gradually got more complex and difficult, but we also unlocked a new gameplay mechanic in the process. And once we're out of the gym, we don't see this mechanic again. We see something new, something fresh, something that makes the game not feel stale. Here, I feel like I've been there, done that. Like the puzzle we have to do now. The goggles is in another part of Earth, so we skydive down, avoiding the dogs like we did when we went down to Robocorp. I will admit that this is actually very fun, so I don't mind. Then we see a woman looking for Dev, so we play the part by dressing as Dev himself. Kinda like how we needed to look like a demon in order to enter the arcade in hell. We quickly get back to hell by summoning Karen and picking up the clothes in Def's apartment. We then need to pretend we are deaf in how we speak. If not, she will see through our ruse and we have to rewind time.
Hey, shithead! It's me, Death.
Wait, you don't sound like Death at all. Death is a resident of hell. They don't swear.
Just like BEC, LS7, Florple, and you get the point. I know I sound really nitpicky and negative here, and I might be overly critical on this, but I know the height these games can reach, and I felt like it didn't explore their main gimmick to the fullest. and it could benefit from perhaps adding a few other gameplay mechanics. I am not one to just blindly criticize without offering some alternatives, so for instance, if there was a possibility to ask NPCs about items in your inventory, we could have added some detective style puzzles. Or maybe we would have to interrogate the cafeterians that stole the goggles Ace Attorney style, and have a focus on finding inconsistencies in their dialogue. Utilize the fact that we can time travel so we know what they're going to say before they're actually going to say it. I want to preface this again, it isn't that the game or the gameplay is bad, I just had higher hopes that things would evolve. And you could say that this is more about the time travel aspect than the dialogue aspect. And that could be correct, but then why did they focus so much on the dialogue when promoting this game? Anyways, I don't like bad-mouthing it like this, because like I said, it is nitpicking, and at this point I still have plenty of fun. I like the characters we interacted with, and I enjoyed seeing all the trouble we had to go through in order to save heaven. During all this ranting, I came across a module at Robocarp, and after taking it to Sinner and Brock, who if we are talking about great characters, these are right up there, we installed the wardrobe module, which allows us to keep any article of clothing we have collected when we are time traveling, making it so we don't have to go through the entire questline with cosplaying death and tricking the cafeterias again in order to get the goggles. And that earns us the name of Cassiel of Modularity.
There you go.
Was there anything else?
That's it for now. Thanks, guys.
There's also a module that has been in sight since the start of the game in the vault, but I never picked it up until now. And installing that allows us to steal memories in the form of MP4 files, and allows us to call ourselves Cassiel of Sentimentality.
There. Now it converts holy events into MP4 files. Was there anything
Using
else?
the goggles that we picked up allows us to see vague and confusing concepts, just like the Holy Spirits that are all around us. One of these are Dave, that are stuck in the phone booth in heaven, because a dog has scared him in there. Luckily he's on his way to God, but we cannot follow. Not under any circumstance at all. We of course follow. And remember when I said that there was one movement focused puzzle? Well, it is now, because we need to tail Dave without being seen. But as luck would have it, the road is pestered with sleeping baby angels, flower pots that are perfectly balanced, this loud dude that screams at you, and an elder grandma that have been waiting for someone to break in so she can have someone to talk to. I really liked the segment. It was something new and refreshing, and a good way of testing my understanding of the abilities I've gotten from all the grace I have accumulated. Having sneaked all the way, we find ourselves in front of God's house, and after some back and forth with God, we finally get the secret of the holy gosh darn in writing, and Daniel gives us the news that Lucifer traded the artifact with Hell some time ago. Celebrating this mission, we decide to speed through Florpole yet again, and as a reward, we buy the Elder stuck in the price counter, only to tell him he sucks. Which is why they call me Cassiel of Animosity.
You suck.
I genuinely really like this segment coming up, because we are heading to Helheim. We learned that Hell gave the Holy Gosh Darn as part of the payment to renovate the road to Helheim. And we finally get to meet the man, the myth, the legend himself, Björn. I mean Bjorn. And of course Pesto, because here is where another can event takes place. It turns out that we were not only playing a big part in the story of Manuel Samuel since we took out the grandma, but we play a pivotal part in Bjorn's story as well. Because who do we know that was contracted as part of this building project? It is none other than Microphone Mike Cobbles himself. Not gonna lie, the joy I felt by seeing all these characters again were too great for words. I get giddy thinking about it right now. Wait, what were we talking about again? Alright, can events. Turns out that the only way we can meet Mike is if his helicopter pilot Bigby has a crash, gets frozen, and then quits after being thawed out by some coffee. But when we see Bigby, he flies with no problems at all. So you probably see where this is going. We of course need to mess with the helicopter engines enough to make all the scenes from Helheim Hassle come to fruition. And once Bigby quits, Mike shows up to the Laughing Glands, But we all remember that he left there with a pretty beaten up face. And who else to make sure that happens than the very annoyed, very angry and very violent when she needs to be, Castiel of many titles. So when Mike don't want to say who Mr. W actually is, we have to beat the information out of him. And in a move that no one saw coming, Mr. W is in fact Sam Welfenberg Sr., Sam's dad, who I predicted was Mr. W pretty early on in playing Helheim Hassle, just saying. So it's nice to finally get some confirmation on that. By beating Cobble senseless, we have earned enough grace to fly, or at least dash in any direction we want after jumping. So the final movement option has now been unlocked. And with that, we can confront Mr. W and finally save heaven. But seeing as this means we are close to the end, I also worked a bit on my side quests. So I run around trying to find some elders, and on this run I become Castiel of Agility by successfully making my way down to Bridge Street and Robocorp without hitting a single dog on my way down. And while dropping down to Robocorp in order to confront Sam's dad, we see the fourth and final spirit in order to be called Castiel of Holiness.
Oh, god damn it!
Finally, we have the culmination we have been waiting for. The artifact is right there! Behind the greedy man that forced us to actually do a day's work in Manuel Samuel is the holy gosh darn, that he of course painted on the backside of with a portrait of himself. All the time traveling, manipulation, stress and annoyance have all led up to this very moment. So how do we finish this dialogue puzzle game? With a platforming section, of course. I mean, it worked for Helheim Hassle. Using all our grace, we jump after Mr. W, and predictably, what goes up must come down. And as we destroy the robot suit Sam Sr. is using, he tumbles down. And what is up with all these dogs? Seriously, we were like 100 meters up in the air. Where do they come from? Luckily, I had gotten pretty good at dog dodging, so we save Sam and get the holy gosh darn. Heaven can finally be saved. But then, Death goes and warns us about unfinished biz. And that we can't return here after we place the painting? But that is just some exposition, right? I mean, in Helheim, they said the same. But there, we enter the post-game and could finish up any remaining side quests when we were done fighting Odin. So we should probably be good, right? Right? Turns out we're not. As we stop the phantoms, we become Castiel of Heroity.
To hell with unfinished biz. Let's get this over with.
Finally saving heaven, we start to merge all the timelines, and some of the events become canon. Like how we slap Mike Cobble senseless and kill the lady in the office. And it turns out that us stealing Bielsa's bus and crashing it in hell was canon. Because Adam and Eve show up ready to finally sit on God's throne. And speaking from experience, that is something so unfathomable that heaven will just simply cease to exist. And since they are human, that means that they are dog's best friend, and command them to block the road after they have started walking towards the throne. There's only one thing that can save heaven now.
God! Hey! God! It's Cassiel! I need help!
And this is when we learn the shocking news that God is dead. And has been for some time now. Dave and Metatron, who was the narrator of Manuel Samuel, were the only who knew about this. As such, we have to do what we have been spending so much time on already. We have to save heaven. And to do that, we need to get the help of death yet again. So it turns out there is an endgame. And spoiler alert, they really meant that we should have finished all the unfinished biz. Because here, there is no return. In other words, I just locked myself out of a lot of trophies. Luckily, this endgame has some side quests for us to both pick up and complete. Like the completion of Mike's story, since he arrives in Hell in order to find Satan. Satan, of course, is in Hell Hospital, recovering from the beating of that brute Sam. Hell Hospital is surprisingly clean and has some great artworks hanging on the walls. And being a connoisseur of the fine arts, I have now seen all the art and art adjacent stuff hanging around the plains, so you can of course call me Cassiel of Artistry. The hospital is also outfitted with great reading material for the next of kin, holding people company here. I have been perusing a lot of books throughout this journey as well, so you can also call me Cassiel of Inquiry.
Blah, blah, blah.
I know that in order to get the information about how to get people to go to heaven so that they can distract the dogs, we need to give Satan flowers, and we literally have to steal someone else's flower in order to get him to talk. After learning that the rules to get into heaven are too strict, we make sure to stop by Cobbles on our way back to teleport him where he needs to go, all because we are Cassiel of Philanthropy.
There.
Well, look at us doing optional acts of kindness.
Also, remember that elder that was lonely and stopped us as we were tailgating Dave earlier? Well, she said she would make us a cookie and it would only take about 8 hours to finish. It is about 9 o'clock now, so I feel it's only fair that we check up on her and make up for insulting her earlier. And I promise that we don't stop by only to live up to the name of Cassiel of Snackery. We aren't done talking with Karen yet either. Since we now have a new coffee maker in God's house, we can establish a connection between our own apartment, Bridge Street, Laughterglance, and Robocorp, all in a day's work for Cassiel of Connectivity. So in order to save heaven, we need to let humans in. In order to let humans in, we have to lower the standards, and then we need to get the Guardians together to take out Adam and Eve. All in 1 hour. Because as Satan explains why all humans go to hell, heaven blows up.
Scared!
Don't listen to those stupid angels, honey. Nothing bad is gonna happen once I sit down. See?
Which again highlights a problem when heaven blows up during dialogues. As Cassie now have information that the player hasn't learned yet, so we get the option to speed up dialogue and get annoyed Cassiel. Even though we haven't really heard this dialogue before, this is the first time. But I'm guessing the flag that sets that a conversation has been heard is set at the beginning of a sequence, instead of at the end. Sorry, nitpicking, and I promise I will stop doing that. Luckily, our good friend Gabe has arrived in heaven, after the timeline when he broke loose his statue stuck. So now, we can deploy him as the new radio host to distract Adam and Eve, giving us an extra hour to complete our run. So 2 hours and a lot of things that needs to happen. We now have Death proper with us and can utilize his abilities to the fullest. This allows us to teleport around to places we have been before. Every time loop needs to be perfectly planned. And I love this segment. Spending some time finding the 4 guardians, the biblical eagle creature, biblical lioness creature, biblical ox creature, and the biblical human creature, Josh. Then sending them in the correct order to the town square, since some of them seem to have all the time in the world getting there. And then spend 1 hour waiting for them to merge into the ultimate biblical creature. The standard for letting people into heaven are locked inside all here, behind some good old bureaucracy. In order to get in, we need to distract them with some paperwork, where we need to fill out the correct form, with the correct date, type of biblical creature we are, which day it is, and so on and so forth. And of course, we need our ID. Then, once we distract, we can use our new phasing ability to enter the server room, where, of course, we are still using a DOS machine to store these rules. And 28 absolutely insane rules stand between the humans and heaven. Just make sure that we don't turn off too many rules, as that might have some unforeseen consequences. With a creature assembled and humans in heaven, we can finally save heaven once and for all. But then we remember that Eve had a shotgun, and bringing a sword to a gunfight doesn't sound like the smartest idea. Luckily, we still have the Holy Gosh Darn, and can combine their sword with our painting. And wait, combine? New tutorial at the end of the game? Huh, insane stuff.
Tori.
What? We're doing a tutorial now?
But hey, I guess that's why they call me Cassiel of Craftability.
Yo, you just combine two items.
Will I ever need to do this again?
And with our new skill, we send a totally accurate biblical creature to take down Eve and Adam. And the holy gosh darn mesmerizes them all, allowing us to give them a wallop and once and for all save heaven. Really living up to the name Cassiel of Heroti that I have already unlocked. There is another trophy here. The end of the game trophy was Craftability. All we see is that the Covetarians have gotten a picture of all the horsemen of the apocalypse, setting up for a potential game at some point in the future. Ah, a man can dream. Beating the game allows us to start New Game Plus, where we skip the tutorial part and go straight into the part where we need to get the key to the vault in order to find out that the holy gosh darn is stolen. Which means that we need to replay the game and do all the cleanup. And I should probably have put the rant about the game design and puzzles and the dialogue here instead of 4 pages ago, because it was at this point in time the game started to annoy me. Especially since, like I mentioned, we cannot skip dialogues and cutscenes like we could in Manual Samuel or Helheim Hassle, so when I want to speed up things in this segment, I really couldn't. Unfortunately, this is also where I got another corrupted recording session. And as luck would have it, it was the one where we got the trophy for unlocking all the clothing options in the game, gave Elder 7 all the different coffees in the game, watched all the Divine MP4 files through the centimeter, and called all 12 different numbers. Which was a treat to complete, as some of the numbers were really well hidden. So, 4 more missed trophies, but for the most part, they didn't touch upon anything that we haven't already talked about. What we could talk about instead is the greatest artist ever lived, Bear John Johnson, and all the hit singles that play on the radio. There are bangers like Murder for Love and Praise the Flowers. This radio channel even has cameos for the amazing Boulder and his hit song The Road to Helheim Hassle. Once all the hits on the radio were finished, I decided I wanted more. Luckily, Elder 14 is holding a concert in mysterious ways, and after buying a ticket from Elder 13, I listened into some smooth blues, because I am Cassiel of Melody.
I'm the one with the baddest crown.
Or I should say, it didn't look like we were chilling with the radio, because why is Cassie looking so pissed off here? Huh. She doesn't know the chillness that bear music gives, I guess. Anyhow, after dropping the sickest diss track on Elder 9 since Kendrick whooped Drake's ass, I could even hear my own song on the radio, since I am Cassiel of Celebrity, just like Elder 7 said. I then went on a big hunt to find Gerardiel and make it shut up. Only problem is, I had no idea who that was. I thought it could have been the ass that shows up on stage in Hell, as there was a character that started with Gur that we see a poster for down in Hell, but I never got a prompt for it. It wasn't until I looked in the notebook that I saw that Gerardiel was this dude that hangs out in the window and speaks to the gardener close to Heaven's Gate. I have literally passed this man hundreds of times at this point. So after winning Florpal again with Gronina and saying hello to the Chips clerk, I bought the megaphone and told him to shut the F up. Next on the list of titles to be earned was the task of insulting 10 elders in one timeline. This meant quickly summoning Karen in order to save the party elders stuck in Dev's laundry, quickly ignoring BEC and rushing to the vault through the hole in the roof to buy the concert ticket for Elder 14 from Elder 13, and at the same time insulting him. Of course, making sure to insult the elder on the roof of the vault as well. Jumping in a cloud next to the hole to earth is an elder chilling in an angel costume. We can't have people chilling like that, so we tell them they suck. Trying to be as speedy as possible, we run too fast and unfortunately jump on God's throne. Luckily, even by rewinding 5 minutes, we are still on the same timeline, so no harm done. We were on our way to God's throne as we had an elder trying to get some peace and quiet there. And you know we can't have that. Our next destination is Helheim, where we channel our inner Eminem to get our kill shot moment and drop a diss track before rushing to Earth in order to kill the old lady. After spawning Karen, we jump through her to get back to Helheim in order to see the face of Elder 9 when she realizes the diss track is about her. Of course, this took just long enough that Bielsa arrived, carrying a poor elder stuck in the safe. Being as helpful as always, we leave him there and just tell him it sucks. Luckily, Karen is still here and we can jump through her to Hell this time, where another elder is trying to get some peace and quiet, which Cassiel just hates. Converting the meaning of life we get from Gabe, we have enough to buy and insult Elder 6, before finishing off the chain of 10 elders by spotting the imposter in front of all here, living up to the name of Cassiel of Audacity. Whew. Going through all the different places of interest, I've seen quite a bit of Lithium. It could be from the workplace where Sam started the robot uprising, Badger spit from the laughing glands, or a Lithium-powered nose trimmer in the price counter. And by collecting them all and presenting them to Sindra and Brock, some even while cosplaying as Döden, I unlock all the upgrades in the game, befitting Cassiel of fully upgrade ability. For once, even I felt generous, and since I had tricked Bjohan into giving me some gold, I now had the opportunity to finally compensate the blacksmiths on a job well done, and earn the nickname of Cassiel of Salary.
Here you go.
By Balder's abs, did we just get paid?
Oh, so this is what it feels like.
After having double checked everything, I think I can now say that we have no unfinished biz. Therefore, I place the painting, save heaven, and fuck up the timelines. This time though, I remember to buy a Satan plushie from the price counter. A fitting get well present for Lucifer, given by Cassiel of Generosity.
Holy faces!
Seeing the floating hand in God's house is the last vague and confusing concept I needed to be called Cassiel of Unbelievability. And since I remember to drink the coffee at the Laughing Glass this time around, the coffee fairy comes for a visit when I make an espresso at God's place. Meaning that when I face through the wall to insult the loner elder, I finally have insulted all 23 of Elder 7's siblings, because I am Cassiel of Hostility.
Should have hit me in the bus like my sibling.
During this playthrough, I made sure to let heaven get blown up, called Kilton a kitty, stepped on God's throne, and got blown up from the bombs in Bielsa's bus. So when I step up to Eve after sending the humans to heaven, I meet the business end of a Boomstick 3000 shotgun, a fitting fate for Cassiel of Mortality.
Wow, damn! What the hell happened?
Eve just blasted you with a shotgun, yo. You're so dead.
Oh, that bitch.
And at this point, I should be missing two, one speedrunning related and one time travel related. But as you can see, we are missing three. This is the part where I start to panic. I have done everything this playthrough. Read all the books, spoken to all the NPCs, listened to every conversation, and yet I still haven't learned everything in the game. I am one piece short. I go back and forth between this and my old save file and realize the horrible truth that some kind of glitch have happened. I am missing the notes on the Chips Clerk, a demon I've spoken to countless times over the course of the game. Somehow her entry hasn't been logged, and I am devastated. This means that I basically need to do another full playthrough for one trophy. See you in like 2 hours. No, wait. Because in the time it took for me to start going for this one, an update adding New Game Plus was added. That starts you right before you place the Holy Gosh Darn. And wouldn't you know, Chip's Clerk is fucking there already. She's meant to drop into the notes the first time you see her. This is fucking stupid, man. Oh, I'm so done. I am so done with this platinum. And it will get worse. It will actually get worse. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. It took about 2 hours to run through and get everything, since I didn't need to think about the story this time. And finally, the notebook is finished. And soon, Cassiel of Fairy can be done with the game.
Sure. One of those, please.
Do you have the necessary paperwork?
I left the best for last, haven't I? The speedrun trophy. But before we get there, I want to talk about some factors in my annoyance with this game. You see, when I started playing the game, I kept noticing something on both the trophy list on PlayStation 5 and on the trophy list in PSN profiles. I was the first to get some of these trophies, so I got the idea. I wanted to be the first person to platinum this game. It could be a sick video to make. So I grinded and tried my very best to be number 1. And then the glitches happened, and I saw my time slipping away. I was also on a deadline to have any chance, because I was about to go on a week-long trip as part of my job. And that day was fast approaching. And with no guide, some of these trophies took forever. Especially the call everyone and see everything through the goggles trophies took a lot of time. So I started to throw away every notion of being the first. And that irked me. Especially since this was pretty much the only time I could ever hope to achieve this. When the glitches happened, they were just the drops that made the cup run over. Since they added the time I couldn't afford. There was no chance of being number 1 now. And notice, I keep saying glitches. Of Fearing wasn't the only one being glitched. The speedrunning trophy fucked me over as well. So let's get into it. The speedrunning trophy requires us to beat the game, aka defeat Eve and not rewind more than 30 times. In the beginning, there are a lot of unavoidable rewinds. You need one to learn that the Holy Gosh Darn is a painting, one for learning that Peter is actually called Simon, and remember that if you piss off BSC, you need to rewind in order to learn what the Holy Gosh Darn actually is. Then you need to rewind for brewing 1 coffee, rewind for time shifting another coffee. Speaking of which, the coffee Simon brewed just disappeared. I couldn't pick it up at least. Another glitch for the counter, and only then, with 4 mandatory rewinds, almost 1/6 of the attempts, does the game start. I even added an extra rewind in order to rewind to a time before Cinder and Brock installed the time slot upgrade, but after I gave the Lephidium, sparking a whole conversation about paradoxes and the complications of it, giving Brock a nosebleed and me a headache. Good job, Cassiel of Paradoxicality.
I've got a nosebleed.
Oh, please time travel so we can forget about this.
And then, as I rushed with a fake Holy Gosh Darn to the edge of heaven, I wasn't allowed to place it. I might have been too quick to hit the poster that originally stands there, because I didn't get a prompt to place the Holy Gosh Darn. I was not allowed to progress. No matter if I rewound time, exited to the main menu, nothing. I was stuck. And that is where I legit took an 8-month-long break from the game. I was so done and demotivated to continue playing this. And that is when I learned a valuable life lesson as a trophy hunter. The trophies ain't worth destroying a game over. If you don't feel the game anymore, then just take a break. At some point, you may want to jump back in, but the final push just ain't worth it sometimes. I always knew I would go and get this platinum eventually, but it absolutely wasn't back then. Sure, if I knew I could be the first, then maybe I would have pushed myself and potentially destroyed my appreciation for this game completely. Don't get me wrong, my complaints still stand all these months later, but I still enjoy the game. I still like what I played in the first and second playthrough. Everything after that though was pain and torture, but after 8 months, I feel like it was time to come back and grind the last 3 to 4 hours needed for the plat. So let's montage. We start off listening to BEC in order to learn that the Holy Gosh Darn is a painting. We then learn Simon's secret. Once we get to the vault, Elder 7 passes out. So we bring our own coffee, but of course we need 2. So Cinder and Brock install the piece and we can time shift a cup of coffee. Only problem is, I am out of coffee and for some reason the coffee Elder 7 was brewing just never finished. So we rewind to the start of the day and then rewind once the coffee is done so we can actually time shift it. Heaven blows up as per usual. Learning the secret took too long, so I need to rewind in order to make it to heaven on time to kill the old lady. We didn't think to pick up the keycard from Sam, so we need to rewind for that. Seeing as this happened 8 months after I played the game last, I was a bit slow in defusing the bomb on Bielsa's bus. And, yeah. Of course, this killing biz takes too long, so we arrived too late in hell for Gabe to want to give us money. So we rewind in order to meet Karen. I forgot that the first time we meet Gabe, he buys the horns for us, so I didn't have enough chips to play Florpool. So we need to go back and get some moolah. We play Florpool and get the phone, talk with Daniel, but don't have time for much else. I then get stuck getting some lithium to bring back more items when I time travel. So many stupid mistakes in this supposed speedrun. We finally get the goggles and can start tailing Dave. Which I failed not once, not twice, but 3 times. Not gonna lie, I started to sweat right about here, as I had lost track of how many times I'd rewound time at this point. Finally, we make it to God's house and then learn of cobbles from hell. The game wouldn't let me enter the Laughing Lands before having a reason to be there, so we spent this timeline getting some soul coins and dialogues exhausted. Bjohan arrived a bit too late for me to crash the helicopter, so I had to get the alcohol and then rewind. So now we can crash the helicopter, beat Mike senseless and then buy the Holy Gosh Darn, just in time for heaven to blow up. Now we could simply pick up the painting, save heaven, and have Adam and Eve invade, learn that God is dead, and learn how to get the humans into heaven. We exhaust some dialogue, get the required teleportation locations, and fill in the H-121 form, before doing the final preparations of talking to all the biblical creatures that unfortunately take too long. But it does mean that after our 24th rewind, we unite the ultimate biblical creature, learn how to combine items, and defeat Eve, with 6 rewinds to spare, and finally, Cassiel of Efficiency has done it all, earning the oh so sweet name of Cassiel of 100% ability.
Prepare to get smacked, Eve and Adam.
You brought a comically large sword to a gunfight?
Actually, we brought some art as well.
And there we have it. Gosh darn, I need a drink after this one. This is hands down the hardest video I have ever written. Trying to balance trophies with a review like this was hard. But hopefully it lands. And if it did, I would love for you to write Cassiel of commenting down in the comment section below. Hopefully you also see that this comes from a place of love. I love Perfectly Paranormal and I enjoy this game a lot in the first 1.5 playthroughs. Then the problems started showing up and I fell out of love with this journey. It took ages to find the motivation to finish this, but now that it's done, I'm left with a positive feeling of it. I think a lot of glitches I have encountered has been patched out now, and the game is enjoyable to finish. Do I recommend you going for the platinum of the game? I don't think so. I really don't. I think it will still hamper your overall enjoyment of the game, at least it did for me. But doing all side quests and experiencing most of what the game has to offer? Yeah, absolutely! The game is so well crafted with the characters and the dialogue. And as I say goodbye to Cassiel and the Tuesday trilogy, I say goodbye with a heavy heart. Because I love the cast of characters that is on display in all 3 games, like I've been saying. And seeing all the Easter eggs and connecting dots in this one was just brilliant. Now, if you'll excuse me, this script is already almost 9 full pages long and has over 8,000 words in it. So I think I will say goodbye here and see you all again for the next one, where wouldn't you know, it's round number day again. And this one is the big 50, a milestone I've been looking forward to and planning for years. But until then, you can see how I got the platinum for the first game in this trilogy by pressing the video on the screen right now. And I will see you all in the next one. Remember, I love you guys, and bye.